Right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Thai Talk with Dan. Now, I've recently shared part 1 and part 2 of one guy's epic journey going around Thailand and getting with all different types of girls from the entertainment industry. And it looks like this guy is going to end up falling a cropper and he's going to get a lot of problems. I can see it. It's in the stars. It's this guy's destiny. Now, strap yourselves in for part 3. It's a corker, guys, and stick the kettle on, grab a whiskey, grab a vodka, whatever it takes. So let's find out what this guy has been getting himself up to in Thailand. So, the next day after breakfast, I went with Marley for a stroll along Patong Beach. After a while, I spotted Emmy and her friends strolling towards us. They spotted me at the same time, so I quickly let go of Marley's hand and said goodbye. Emmy was happy that we had found each other. Now, when I explained that their Thai guide had given me the name of the wrong hotel, she understood. The guide had been knocking on the hotel room door late at night before trying to get into their pants. So, I spent the afternoon with Emmy minus her friends and took her back to my hotel room. When we parted, she gave me the details of her hotel and we agreed a time to meet up there later. Somehow, there was another mix-up, and when I went to this hotel, the girls had already gone out. Nothing for it but to go back to the bar where I had met Marley the night before. As Marley and myself were walking hand in hand along Bangla Road, we were spotted once more by Emmy and her friends. This time, Emmy was very angry and caused a scene in the street. I tried to explain how I'd been to her hotel and that she had already left, but she didn't believe me. She told me to have fun with my Thai girlfriend and stormed off. Now in the morning, Marley said she was going out with Thai friends that night, but that she would come to my room later. So I went to Emmy's hotel to look for her and hopefully make up. This we did. We spent our last evening watching a ladyboy cabaret. Not at all my cup of tea, but Emmy wanted me to go and even paid for me. I made my excuses afterwards, wanting to get back to see Marley. As it happened, the knock on the door from Marley didn't come, and I spent the night alone. Now, the following morning, I flew with the Japanese girls back to Bangkok. They were leaving Thailand in the afternoon and me in the evening, so we said our goodbyes at the airport. I went to Sutisan and spent the afternoon in a short-time hotel with a girl from a lady home. I actually cried in the hotel at the thought of the boring life that awaited me back in the UK. Because I no longer cared about my job and wanted to maximise my time in Thailand, I had arranged to go into work straight after landing at Heathrow and getting to the city where I worked. That was a very hard day at work. I was flagging by the afternoon, but at least my team leader was understanding. So I bought a house in my hometown in September of 1994 after my grandmother gave me the deposit. The house was soon rented out. It was then only a question of when I would hand my notice in and go to Thailand for a long stay. Towards the end of the year, I got a letter from one of Emmy's friends who was planning to visit the UK in December of 1994 and wanted to meet me. She included a photograph, and no kidding, I fell in love with this girl from the letter and photograph alone. Her name was Mai, and I had a great couple of days showing her around. She must have had a good time too, because she came back to stay with me a second time a few days later. And by this time, I had already handed my notice in, so I didn't mind taking sick days to be with her all the time. Now during both stays, it was separate rooms, although I had the feeling it didn't need to be. After this, we wrote to each other frequently, by which I mean every week. So, I set off for Thailand in mid-January 1995, with much hope in my heart, thinking I would be staying a whole year, and it didn't turn out that way. The first evening I went to Soy Cowboy to try and find Ari, who I hadn't seen in almost 2 years. I was successful, although she had changed bars and no longer danced on stage. That night, when she got naked, it was obvious she had a baby since I saw her previously. I asked when the baby was born, and she told me December 1993. This was precisely 9 months from the last time I had stayed with her, a time when I had never used protection with her. So I asked if the baby was mine, and she said, maybe. I said I wanted to go to her home in Pattaya to see the child, and she said she would take me the next day. She also said it didn't matter who the father was, and love me, love my baby. I told her it didn't work that way. If the baby was mine, I would look after her and the baby forever. But if it wasn't, I wouldn't. Now, when the next day arrived, Ari said she didn't want to go Pattaya until the following day. I felt she was stringing me along. Plus, her friend said there was no chance the baby was mine, so I decided to part ways. It's not just Thai men who are not interested in raising another man's child. Now, after leaving Ari, I headed to Chiang Mai. I rented a room in the same cheap guest house I had stayed in on my first visit to Chiang Mai. The guest house was friendly and films were shown every night, so I soon knew a few people there. Unfortunately, after not very long at all, I got sick. Probably dysentery, which I had suffered from once before after my first trip to Thailand. I spent 3 weeks in my room alone. It's no fun when you are alone and sick in a foreign country. I only ventured out of my room to get food or to select a new book from the guest house collection, and I lost a lot of weight. Now, the girl I remember from that time was called Ratita. She came from Sakodern, and she was the most beautiful girl I have ever spent time with. When I took her back to the guest house, all heads were turned. She was loving and sweet too, and would spend the daytime with me as well as the night. Not cheap for me though, at 1,500 baht per day. She was well over my daily budget if I was going to stay for a whole year. She never asked me for anything else other than food, but I could not get out of the Sakodern fee. Looking back, I should have asked for a long-term discount. Now, I was still visiting Prem and his family frequently and going on day trips with them on a Sunday. I told him about Ratita and he said bring her to meet his family. When I did so, Prem complained to me about bringing a 304 to his house. He was usually drunk and very consistent. His eldest daughter, Pensri, who was 18 by this time, asked if I only liked very beautiful girls. Now, because I had a lot of time on my hands and because I couldn't afford to pay for Ratita every day, I decided to leave Chiang Mai. I had the idea I would go by coach to Phuket to see if I could find Mali again. It's a long way from Chiang Mai to Phuket, so I broke my journey in Bangkok and Hua Hin. My first night in Phuket, I got Song Tao to the bars of Patong. A girl I didn't fancy much hit on me in the back of the taxi. Wishing to get away when I saw a pretty girl walking down the road, I quickly stopped the Song Tao, telling the girl hitting on me that the pretty girl was my friend. From the way she was dressed, the other girl was clearly a bar girl, so I asked her if she wanted to hang out with me. She said she had to work first, but we agreed to meet up later. So I walked around the bars of Bangla Road, hoping to spot Mali. I heard a voice call to me from one bar. And unbelievably, it was Marley. Lucky that she spotted me, because I would not have recognised her with her much shorter hair. She was now working serving drinks behind a bar. I asked if she would spend the night with me. Sadly, she said she was only a young girl and it was not good for her to go with customers. She didn't seem particularly impressed that I had made the trip to Phuket specifically to find her. I thought about guilt-tripping her by saying she owed me for not coming to my room as she had promised my final night in Phuket 1 year ago. But I decided not to. I don't blame her for not going with me anyway. After my bout of dysentery, I was so thin I looked like I was dying. We just chatted the evening away until it was time for me to go meet the other girl. I found her, but in a very drunken state. As we were walking along together, she bumped into a Ploughing guy and wanted me to fight him for her, even though the collision was mostly her fault and he was terribly apologetic. Meanwhile, back in my room, I did not have a good time with her and she quickly left. Now, Phuket is a lot more expensive than Chiang Mai, and my mission to get back with Marley had failed. So it wasn't long before I headed back north. I wanted to see Ratita again, but by the time I arrived in Chiang Mai, the police had closed down all the lady homes. It wasn't clear if this was temporary or permanent, and I had no way to find Ratita again. Damn it, with Sakodern closed, she would almost certainly have stayed with me in return for food and accommodation if only I had stuck around a little longer in Chiang Mai. This trip was beginning to feel cursed. So, with the lady homes all closed, I then had to go to bars to find companions. Mostly, I went to Spotlight Go-Go Bar. I took a few girls from there. One drunken girl took me back to her room situated right beneath a disco. The music was so loud the walls shook. It was only because I had drank a lot myself that I could get any sleep there at all. I left when her much prettier 17-year-old younger sister came back around dawn and got into bed on the other side of me. I knew that with this gorgeous creature lying in bed beside me, I had zero chance of getting back to sleep. Now, by mid-March, my 30th birthday was approaching. I knew that I couldn't stay in Thailand much longer. I had never truly recovered from the bout of dysentery I'd suffered from 2 months earlier. I was also living on street food to try and save money, and this was taking its toll on my health. I booked a flight back to the UK for mid-April, and the heat from Chiang Mai was becoming unbearable for me, so I headed south to Pattaya. In Pattaya, I stayed at the Britannia bar, which was run, surprisingly enough, by some Brits. They were impressed by the girl I brought back from Trai Wan Lady Home the first night. The brothel girl was much prettier than your average Pattaya bar girl. I only spent 1 night with this girl, however, because she didn't want me to pay for her again. Apart from this, my most memorable experiences came with a girl called at Sabai Land Soapy Massage in North Pattaya. Now, the upfront cost paid before going to a private room was for a bath together, followed by some naked slipping and sliding. It was only when this was over the negotiations for extras took place. This put me at a severe disadvantage. So the first time I agreed to an extra 1,000 baht. On subsequent visits, I made sure I only had 500 baht left in my wallet by the time negotiations for extras came round. Now, Britannia Bar was really more of a guest house than a bar. The only girls working there worked as receptionists. One evening, a girl called Tom, working the reception evening shift, asked me if I wanted to play darts with her. She was good because she practiced a lot to amuse herself when there was no customers. The first game, she hit her double while I was still in the 200s. We had an audience who applauded her. She laughed and said I was so bad that if I could beat her the next game, she would come to my room when her shift ended at midnight. Now the next game, her arrows became mysteriously more erratic. She still outscored me, though this time she couldn't get anywhere near her double. 20 minutes later, a cheer went up as I got my double one. The audience told her she had to keep her word. She looked very sheepish. I never thought she was serious and was surprised at midnight when there was a knock on my door. So I opened the door and in she came. So we spent time together for the next few days when Tom was not working. She never asked for any money or for me to buy her anything, quite the opposite. In fact, she told me she had a Thai husband who was working in the south of Thailand. So one evening in her room, she told me her husband was coming to Pattaya the next day. I asked what time he would be arriving and she said she didn't know. Now, for obvious reasons, I decided not to spend the night in her room once he was in Pattaya. The husband often came to drink in Britannia Bar. Sometimes he'd sit with me, and sometimes Tom would kiss me out of his sight whilst he was sat in the bar. I don't know what her game was. Maybe it was revenge from some past infidelity on his part. So anyway, I left Thailand in mid-April, only 3 months after my arrival. So much for staying for 1 year. My mother had already given notice to the tenants in my new house, so I returned to an empty, unfurnished property. It was hard at first because of my disappointment at being back in the UK again so soon and because of my poor health. The only good thing was that because I had returned far earlier than planned, I still had some money left to furnish the property. I soon found a job as a postman. That summer of 1995 was red hot in the UK and I enjoyed chatting to people as I delivered the mail. What I didn't enjoy was having to go to bed early so that I could be at work for 5 a.m. After a few weeks, I was actually given the round, which included my house. I'm not sure if this was purely by chance or not. Delivering to my house had 2 advantages. Firstly, it meant I could have a break when I got to my house, and secondly, it meant I got to see Mai's weekly letter without waiting for it to be delivered. Now, Mai was coming to study English for a year starting in November 1995. She asked me if I wanted to stay with her in a London hotel when she arrived. That was an easy decision to make. I left the postman job before she came. The job was stopping me from looking for a proper job, and it wasn't a job I wanted to do in winter. So the time I spent with Mai in London was the best of my life. She would scream so loudly when we made love that I was embarrassed whenever other guests saw me coming out of our room. No time with a Thai girl ever compared with my time with Mai. Then again, I was hopelessly in love with her, and after 1 week, she said I had to go, saying if I didn't, it would never end. She told me that she would visit me at my home around Christmas. So, fast forward. When Christmas came, so did Mai, but she was quite ill with the flu. I was hoping to carry on where we had left off in London. It started out that way the first night, but after that, it was strictly platonic. She told me she only wanted to be friends, and that was not easy for me, especially as we still shared a bed. I didn't sleep at all well, and soon caught the flu too. By the time Mai left, I was a wreck. So in January, I started a new job, this time as a statistician in the civil service. It was the most appropriate job I had ever had, and I excelled at it. Big problem was, it was located far from where I lived, so I couldn't stay in my new house. Now I was still exchanging weekly letters with Mai, and after a couple of months, she told me that her period hadn't come and asked me if we made love while she stayed with me at Christmas, and I replied, yes. She said she thought she had only dreamed it while she was ill. She also said that if she was pregnant, she would raise the child as a single mother in Japan. Fortunately, her period came, although she was rather slow in letting me know. Right guys, this story is heating up. Almost 2 babies on the way. The first baby that he mentioned still might be his. Who knows? And then he got another scare with another baby. Obviously, this guy is not using protection and he's going through a lot of women. Very dodgy. Guys, I'm going to record part 4 right now and I'm going to try and upload that today also. So get ready for that. Please put your comments down below, and if you want to share your own true Thailand story on the channel, then get your emails sent in to thaitalkwithdan@gmail.com and I will share it on the channel. Thanks for watching guys, take it easy and get ready for part 4. Ciao for now, bye bye.